always when you start a game, you should, if you are not Hans, you should start by first making houses, then moving towards the ship. That's the basic of the build order. You start by making the houses and then you move to the ship. So that was the first mistake. Instead, he sent the villagers to build the houses far away. The first two houses should always be built closer to the town center, at least within a three distance from the town center, which should allow you to have enough distance to place later a farm here. And a second mistake here is that the gathering point of those villagers is not the ship. And clearly, Set Bello is not following Stark's build order, which states that the first 6 villagers should actually go towards the food, but preferable to the ship. So killing multiple ships is actually making his food decay at a very fast rate. So he's not optimizing his resource from being collected here. He might eventually kill this boar because he's God, but he's risking the life of the villager. 2 more hits and he did the loom, and this villager could be dead. His town center is going idle, and he's actually getting the boar here with only 3 villagers, which is also making this food decay a lot faster. So he is not having an optimized, far from it, food gathering here. He's also killed another boar, so killing multiple sources of food is not suggested or recommended in the early game. At least not before you have more than 8 villagers on the food. So if you have less than 8 villagers on the food, you should never be taking more than 1 source of food. In this case, we can see 1, 2, 3 and 4 sources of food, which is a mistake, which is not optimizing his food from being collected. Another mistake is that we have, for example, villagers getting like 40 food here, and he is not manually retasking them to drop this food, which leaves his town center idle. This idle TC is a big mistake because that causes his economy to be inefficiency, and this inefficiency causes him to get behind in the number of villagers. My hack, his opponent has like 12 villagers while he has only 9, so he is also getting behind in the number of villagers. So not focusing on a single animal to collect first, not following a build order, and idling the TC especially are the biggest mistakes. But idling the TC is most of the times the most unforgivable thing. Right now this guy has a 5 villager advantage, and Set Bello is probably tempted when he saw the amount of food that he had of clicking up. But he just realized that he cannot click up because he needs the wood for the second building. So now he starts to collect the wood. But look at that, the TC was idle, now he grew up a lot of bills. He started to collect that, but he clearly has no plan of which animal he will get next and how he's gonna do it. Now he's going up to the next stage. But you can see that despite getting a faster feudal age, he has less villagers than his opponent. He gets to the next stage and he's already making wheelbarrow. Is this good? No, it's a mistake. Wheelbarrow will not be efficient enough, and it should be researched only in very specific situations. Wheelbarrow can be used as a defensive upgrade if you have to make your villagers run away from opponents. If you play without walls, maybe you can justify making wheelbarrow early, but I would honestly, in a regular game, wait until I have more than like 14 or 16 farms, or in a booming game until I have 50 villagers.
It's a follow
in order to do wheelbarrow. Now he's going for town watch, but I do not see if he did. I don't think he did. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, he did the first wood up. That's good. He did the wood up. He did horse collar, but he didn't need wheelbarrow, which he did. He's now making big walls here. The bigger a wall is, harder it is to protect. the best and the most efficient walls are the smaller ones. So a wall this big is actually weak because it costs a lot, it takes a lot of time to be built, and it also is difficult for you to defend. He's now ringing the bell, which is a mistake that you should never do. You should always manually task your villagers to the TC, never use the bell, always manually task the villagers. And how can you do that if you do not have enough practice to do so? Practicing. But start. At first, it will cost me some views. It will. So what? That's the price you pay, my friend. And there, let's keep following here. The idle TC is still the biggest mistake. He keeps the TC idle, later he tries to compensate it by adding big quills here. The big quills don't compensate or make it operate. They don't compensate. They don't make it operate. Don't use those big quills as if they were answers for that. They are not miracles. The eco is also a bit unbalanced, and the big walls here, they just give a false sense of protection. Spearmen are not the best army to attack. Look at that, their attack is very low, and they are a melee army, so there's plenty of time for the enemy to run towards the town center. I would say that the most effective units in order to kill an enemy are archers and men-at-arms. Men-at-arms are the strongest melee combat unit, such as the one that Mihak is using as God, and archers are one of the most lethal ones. So, pretty much that. Que inglês fantástico do Belo. E aí, Léo? Você não viu pelado ainda, cara. Você acha o inglês bom, você não viu a piroca ainda, velho. Deu uma emagrecida, Léo. Tô com uma piroca napolitana, cara. Tá uma coisa maravilhosa, velho. Cabeçona roxa. Uns tons de rosa, assim. Depois ela fica morena, assim. Parece um caule, cara. Tá bonita de ver. And there we go. Pro Léo.
Tá falando pra todo mundo.
Calma, amor. Tô divulgando o produto.
Que produto?
Não pode falar isso?
A gente conversando sobre isso ontem, você vai falar comigo, o pessoal tá te assistindo.
Calma, amor. Não pode falar disso?
Fala detalhes da sua rola.
Não pode falar?
Vou falar detalhes da minha buceta.
Não, amor, calma. Calma, amor, vou focar no jogo.
Não, imagina, vou falar detalhes
Não,
da minha buceta.
desculpa, amor, calma. Desculpa, vou focar no game. Tá que pariu, hein? Tomei um pito aqui. Taxado, velho. Tá foda, velho. Quando o samurai não pode ter orgulho da espada, a coisa tá feia, velho. Taxado completamente aqui. Puta merda, velho. Que merda, hein? É isso, né? Meu soldadinho aqui, ó. O soldado corre de soldadinho, ó. Alright, guys, so... Mihak was investing a lot into men-at-arms. The problem here with the archers from Setibello is that he's not messing. Look at the amount of army from Mihak. And the biggest issue here with the archers is that those archers are lacking two essential things. There are two essential things that you need to have when you are playing with archers. The first thing are numbers. You need numbers when you play with archers. You need to mess up. The more you mess up the number of archers, the more archers you have, the stronger they get. 5 archers versus 5 archers is a no-go. 50 archers versus 50 knights, and you can even operate a miracle or get a good fight. And he's also lacking deflection. So he lacks the upgrades. He's trying now to make skirmishers, elite skirmishers, which is the wrong army. Now crossbowmen, so he doesn't know what to do. He's kind of lost, while his opponent is killing him with a lot of men-at-arms. He's completely lost, losing everything, not making a correct answer. He's trying to make archers, but he will never be able to turn back here. He will just buy time by adding this castle, but this castle will never solve the problem that he is a lot behind in terms of army. He can even be ahead in terms of eco by adding the second town center, but he is losing in the concept. Ranged units need two things: upgrades and numbers. You need to have the correct upgrades and you need to work them with numbers. Having the crossbows now is very risky and they have no upgrades at all. Whenever you play with the skirmisher line, you should always go for the upgrades. And right here you can see that there are no upgrades here. Look at that. Where's Fletching? Where's Bodkin Arrow? There's none. They are just regular skirmishers, so you do not have extra attack, you do not have extra range. So those men-at-arms, long swordsmen now, have 2 pierce armor versus 3 attack from the skirmishers. So they pretty much receive no damage at all from the skirmisher. So those skirmishers causes no damage at all. Ô Betão, obrigado pela raid, cara, muito obrigado. Fico muito grato aqui por ter recebido a raid. Muito obrigado, Beto. Espero que você tenha tido uma boa stream. Porra. A good thing that Seth Bell is doing is that he is booming on the sides. So he is at least trying to go for the sides here, man. Look at that. He's booming. He's developing the economy. So he's having trouble with the military, but he's doing a good job developing his economy, building new castles, and he is out-booming his opponent. So he is doing all the bad choices. Look at that. The skirmishers and pikemen. Why? Those are all the wrong choices of army. You shouldn't be doing pikemen and you shouldn't be doing skirmishers. What you should be doing here are long swordsmen. If this is a God War, you should be doing long swordsmen as well. You should be doing the same troop as your opponent. If you are outbooming him by like 20 or 25 views, you should probably be able to outproduce him in the number of men-at-arms. So if he's capable of making like 20 men-at-arms, you should be able to make like 30 or 40, so you should have the advantage. Que pariu dessa stream, não dá pra falar mais nada, velho. É censura, censura tudo, não posso falar porra nenhuma aqui. Look at this. Barracks, stables, skirmishers, no. The army composition is wrong. A garganta indo pro saco, hein? He's now losing town centers. Wrong army only. He's trying to go for crossbowmen. It doesn't matter. Despite being on Imperial Age, he's doing the wrong army. Don't go for the wrong army. He should be going for massive amount of men-at-arms like his opponent. So the bell once again. In a God War, you should focus on what your civ does best. You are trying to go for a different army composition, but it's clearly not working. Champions, massive amount of champions is the way to go here. So I think that Mihak might be able to win the game only because he's doing the correct army. Setibello is now doing everything wrong here regarding the army composition. He's controlling more map, but he's doing all the wrong army. Look at that, he loses all the direct combats. All the direct confrontations, he loses it. Quality against quantity. No, my friend. You were losing in both. You were losing in both quality and quantity here. Because I do not see your quantity. Your opponent has 85 military and you only have 26. You're losing in both quality and quantity here. A bad unit composition will make you lose on both quality and quantity. It's not a matter of quality versus quantity. It's a bad army composition which will eventually make you lose on both quality and quantity. You need to have a well thought army composition. Gods is quite simple. Champions only. I started playing in December and that's very fair, man. He's way more experienced than yours, and considering that, you did a great job. If you consider that, you did a great job. But I think that the fact here is that you are only losing because you are doing the wrong army. If from the start you just try to copy the army that he was doing, you would probably have won the game. That's the sad part about that. If you only try to copy his army, if you only try to play with champions here, you would probably have won the game. Right now, you both have less than 50 villagers each, but he has twice the army. You try to make the new castles, but he is just killing everything. His army is very efficient. You try to raid, you try to buy time, you try to use your army in a smart way, so you are way smarter than your opponent. You try to attack and dominate the corners, which is a very good principle to win longer combats and longer confrontations. He only has 13 villagers right now, so this guy pretty much has no economy at all, but he still has a very considerable army to be dealt with, so you have to kill his army. You are trying to kill his trebuchets, you are still producing. This actually might work. But if he just sends his army to attack you, he might kill you. All that he has to do is to ignore your attacks and focus all of his army on your castles and town centers. The army difference is getting lower and your villager number is actually increasing by a lot. You were controlling the map for a long time already and the population is getting in your favor. The army difference is getting lower and lower and lower, and despite making skirmishers, you are winning. Your eco is very different from his. He's not producing anything, and at this moment I'm not seeing a winning condition for your opponent. Aiming at his eco and attacking him constantly was a very smart way. Boring but well played. Getting recognized by your opponent is a very nice way of knowing that you played a good game. So you did have a strategy. There were flaws on your game and there were also flaws on your opponent's side. But I think that he could have killed you. You were at risk, and in my opinion, you could have also killed him way earlier if you have used your knowledge, your new knowledge now. So in a God War, you can try to mass archers during Feudal Age, since they counter infantry quite well, or you can try to go for the mass infantry like he did. But if the game eventually goes to Mid-Castle and Imperial Age, it's all about massing infantry. Maybe there's some room to add hand cannoneers on the back of your army. but I would actually focus more on having numbers and more champions. So the way you develop it to the corners is just perfect. So well played, well developed, good game, but terrible army composition.